Hello, my friends. What's going on? Welcome to YouTube channel. Why is it looks like the light was flashing, but it isn't flashing. That's interesting. The refresh rate on my camera at certain angles makes it look like the light's flashing. Anyhow, I'm really all over the place. This will be a casual video. I just want to talk really briefly about room treatments, measurements, what to listen for, how to listen for certain things, the certain factors that play a role in what things sound like. As most of us know, I hope that most of us realize that speakers, amps, and components are not just a plug and play type of adventure. When you bring the speakers home and you put them in a location, they will have one sound. If you move them, they will have a different sound. If you put them back in the original position and you sit down where you were, it goes back to that kind of similar sound. But if you change seats, it changes again. So, as some people have said and will say and continue to say, everything affects the sound, including cables and even cable risers. Look at that. Oh my God. No, don't ask me where I got them. It's not happening. So today I wanted to go over a couple of things that I have tried. I spoke with my buddy Jay in the city, and I've talked with another professional who does calibrations, Kevin, and a number of other industry folks that have talked about the idea of diffusion, absorption, bass traps, angles and positions. And I just want to go over this topic because I haven't made a video in a couple of days. I've done a lot of the updates from Montreal, which I'm grateful that a lot of people have enjoyed those. I've gained some subscribers, which is really good. Thank you for everybody who is new and subscribed. I appreciate it. Commenting is even more impressive than subscribing, to be honest. I would rather see nice and helpful, respectful comments or curious questions, not rhetorical questions, and not trying to like educate me on something. Ask me first and then we'll get to the education part. But yes, comments are very welcome. So my room, as you can tell, these are very, very basic plastic panels. They're not any kind of design. They're not mathematically stout. You can see here that they sound like plastic, so they do have a resonance. They're just stuck to the wall with double-sided tape and glue pads. I did just add these. These are absorption panels, basic fiber board or whatever you want to call it, and I've used glue pads to stick them on the ceiling. Their current location, they're essentially just performing first reflection points from the towers going this way. The carpet handles it going the other way. Now, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make in that spot. Obviously, I'm not in ear length of that, and some people may argue that it's not necessary. I am doing it anyways. The room is not a professional room, and I am just chasing the ideal sound. I listen to a lot of different genres of music, including what we're listening to now, which I will turn up and I will give you a sample. The Good Phone. So you obviously can't really tell a whole lot through a phone recording what anything sounds like, but I will report that I do have very good center imaging. I've got really nice soundstage width. That is coming from the fact that I have them towed a little out from on axis, but these side panels and reflections here all the way around, it's typically what you would call a faux pas because now I have first reflection points, but the geometry of the wall and the fact that it is kind of scattered doesn't bring attention to it in this direction. Also, this reflection point paired with the fact that I have curtains on the back wall and everything else is fully absorbed, the interaction and interference profile from these reflections are not really causing that much of an issue. It still sounds dialed in. I'm not getting too much interference that way. Where I have the biggest issue is the bass. The bass is always, as most of us will know, is the biggest problem. Let me back up into my room. You see that this room is not very big. It is a 10.5 by 13 by 8. So it is a fairly small room. Some people are going to say these towers are already too big for this room. I will disagree. The only problem with the room is where they're located and where I'm sitting. As you can see from the back of the room, I am just pulled up into the room maybe at about just outside of the third of the room mark. So my head would be at the quarter mark. The towers, the front baffle of the towers is also at the quarter mark, which I think has a problem or is creating a problem with the bass, because it's an equal and opposite measure. So whatever the frequency of this distance combined with maybe left and right and the up and down, so each wall back and forth is going to have a different bouncing frequency. I have a feeling that even though I've loaded these foam panels into the back corner, I'm still going to have these reflections, and the bass frequencies are causing a null at multiple frequencies. I have one at, I think, 75, another one at 110. It's not really good. Also, my window well is about 12 inches deep. I've got the foil up there because, the sun is terrible. So I have this space, and I've loaded foam on the other side to kind of isolate that. Basically because this side, the window stops at about here, which is like 30 inches, and on the other side it's far less. So the window is actually asymmetrical in the room. All that is to say, yeah, of course, the room has some issues. In my main listening position, when I run frequency sweeps and I have bass frequencies that go up from 20 to 200, I can hear the null, like the volume, even with my ears, without calibration mics, without a UMIC 1, without REW, without a laptop, just my ears. I can still hear where it dips, and it starts to get faster and faster as the frequencies go up. So anything above 200 hertz, typically the nulls are like, it's smaller movements, like, you know what I mean, the way that harmonics work. So yes, down low, obviously there's a problem. 30 and below sounds cool. Then I think there's a dip at around 45. It doesn't get quite boomy. Or maybe the first point is like 35, then 75. This is why I need to do measurements. I'm guessing, right? Like I have a measuring tape there. I have the level there. I have all of this stuff positioned correctly. And why, like near field scanners and Danny Ritchie's method and Aaron's Audio Corners method and these guys that are doing measurements in room, they calculate everything like down to 200, because down below 200, you're definitely going to have room interactions. The length of the sound wave then becomes longer than the space in the room. It's harder to calibrate. So that's where I'm having a problem. I'm not exactly sure what to do. I think maybe adding a sub into my system would be helpful. Maybe bass traps, but here's the advice that I got from my friends at the Montreal Audio Fest and my other professional friends. They've basically said the idea of having capable speakers and powerful amplifiers is to present energy in the system. And if you add absorption like this, it's taking energy away from the system. If you use diffusion, what you're doing is redirecting the sound. So instead of it being soaked up by the wall, it's scattering it in a way. So the energy is still moving around the space, but it's not doing so in an interference way. Very important. So I like diffusion for higher frequencies. Mid-range frequencies a little bit odd. You might have to position panels in certain areas to take away some of those energies. It does work, but the depth of the diffusion panel will have to change, as well as the width of the spaces. I had an argument online where guys in this Facebook group didn't realize that the top of my table is open, so it's not a reflection point because the sound just dips inside. I mean, yes, but I mean, what sound wave is going to bounce off this little tiny piece here, like this width? Someone can tell me what frequency bounces off a width of 1.5 inches, then okay, maybe we can talk. But to look at the table like this, you would think, oh, it's a flat surface, it's going to cause reflections. But no, I mean, obviously you know how it is with people in comment sections. Just a note on the song we're listening to. So I've considered some of those things, and no, this table's not permanent. It's in here for now because it's got my tools, my stickers, all that kind of stuff. But eventually this will move. That will probably stay there. And someone else on YouTube's commented on why people put stuff between their speakers in the front. Well, most of my stuff is over here. I didn't actually do that. I don't intend to have anything in the middle of my speakers other than amplifiers, which I hope to get 2 mono amps, and they will be back into the room away from the speaker, so low and away. The mirror is also temporary. It's basically just because if I want to show off that I'm using a 5-channel amp and it's bi-amplified, I can zoom into the mirror and you can see what's going on. It has no other benefit. I'm not using it for a reflective surface and diffusion. Not diffusion. So yes, the bass frequencies. So after all of these bits of information and talking with my friends about what to do, the back wall, I think because my window is open, I might put some kind of absorption panel back here as well as behind the speakers, so that wall doesn't have a reflection. It doesn't push the wave back into my room and have an interference. It doesn't go back and forth. It basically just moves one way, which is why they put cardioid designs in Dutch and Dutch and Key Audio and Pro Audio in concerts. The bass moves forward from the stage. It doesn't go behind the stage. So if I absorb the bass waves that are going into this window well, and then I put a diffuser, center diffuser in front, it will redirect some of that energy back, give my soundstage some depth, and then absorption in the corners, which right now it's all covered up, can change that. I think I'm okay with this. I might change this spot to include a diffuser as well, instead of just this, but I need to, I mean, the reason why I have the curtains is because of the ugly paint. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's gross. And I don't want to paint in here because it's an apartment, which is also why everything is kind of temporary. So to conclude, the purpose of the video is to say that, like, don't be afraid to move stuff around. And speaking of moving things around, oh, I'm sorry, Buddha. I saw that my reflection on the tower was different. And the statue was all messed up. There we go. That's better. I try to keep the reflections on the ceiling symmetrical whenever possible. I think this one needs a little bit more adjusting. But, yeah. That's how I can tell where the lights are. Yes, back to the point. So the conclusion basically is I need to do some more work and experiment with where the towers are. My buddy Jay, we all know Jay Ziagi. He was suggesting making larger movements, like moving them in by a whole cabinet width and moving them up by 1.5 feet and then seeing how they respond. Same with the chair. Like if you're going to move the chair and it's for bass purposes, you're going to have to move it more than a few inches because the frequencies we're talking about fixing are like a couple of meters long when you get into certain frequencies. So don't be afraid, move stuff around. Yes, everything affects the sound and you can always experiment. Moving a couple of inches can change the high frequencies. Adding a couple of things in the reflection paths can change the width and the depth of the soundstage. It's all to personal taste. There's no right or wrong. Really, it's about the same as cooking. If you like your steak a certain way if you appreciate spices, if you appreciate salt and pepper, if you prefer cinnamon on your French toast, there's a Canadian thing for you. If it's all about personal taste. Not everybody likes the same tasting stuff. I mean, a lot of people do. It's a bell curve. But if you're looking for a sound profile, it's similar to the way you would modify a recipe. No one else is right about their opinions when it comes to your system. I am only talking about my journey and what I am trying to figure out. So I welcome the opportunity to speak with others that have this issue and they're trying to figure it out as well. So from the Rotel system and me, see, this isn't actually flashing. That's just a camera roll. That's weird. So weird. Anyways, I have to figure that out. From the Rotel 1590 Mark II, the RMB 1555, and the Arendal 1723 THX towers, that's enough for me. And we're listening to Cobuzz today, and that's Jason Richardson and a couple of different metal tracks for the day. So take it easy. Happy Easter. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Monday to those who are already over the dateline. I will see you in the future. Maybe we'll change some things up in here even further, more so than just these panels. Okay, guys and gals and ladies and whoever else watches, have a good one. Happy Easter. This is my bunny. And I'll see you in the next one. Cool.